Okay. So my name is Roni Winston, and I work in the field of education. I am also a pastor, and a community advocate.
Oh, awesome. And I was reading through your bio and I was like, wow, you had such a spiritual journey to that brought you to this stage in your life with your ministry. And
Absolutely.
it was actually pretty inspiring to me because me myself, I'm also an ordained minister and very spiritual. And just to be around someone who or know someone who have also have those same type of experiences and a part of the community is it's so inspirational and so encouraging for
Yeah,
me to go on and explore myself through my spiritual journey.
yeah, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to your ministry.
So I have four children.
Okay.
Um, I am born and raised in the South. Woo woo. Uh, there just have been so many parts when it comes to how I ended up in ministry. Ultimately, it was sort of, if I were to describe it, God had been chasing me for a long time, and I had spent a long time running. And even when, I would agree to, a little portion, then God would say, "Oh, but I want you to do this." And I'd be like, "Mm-mm, I'm not doing that." Um,
Right.
but really and truly, I have to say, the relationship with my spouse really, what marriage should be, which is an emulation of the relationship that we have with God, which is love in a place that brings wholeness and healing. And that relationship really, at the end of the day, showed me God. Showed me God as far as, the God in others and the God in myself. And so I think really that has been a major step in how I ended up with that. And so we have started Whosoever Ministries, which it is our desire to bring, um, really not just about church or the idea of organized religion, because we can't be in every community, but communities that are underserved as far as open and affirming ministries, we would like to help bring like-minded people together and bring them together on a spiritual level, but also bring them together on a service level as well. And so Whosoever Ministries is really about um, going into the communities that do not have open and affirming ministries, because really, we're at a time now where people are beginning to realize and recognize that our community, we've been there for the work all along, but now it's our time to get the acknowledgement. But there are still communities that don't have that. And so we would like to go into those communities and help them to organize, how can we get together and share our faith, but also utilize it to serve in the community itself, doing the work, feeding people, loving on people, providing a safe space for people. And so that's really what ministry is all about for us. So we want to come to a city near you.
Yes, amen. Yes, we would love to have you here in Rochester. Now, where are you to bring up that point? Where are your ministry located?
So we are in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Uh,
The Ville, that's what
the
they call it.
Ville.
nice parts. Yes, but we, have gas money, will travel. So,
Okay.
we really do ultimately see ourselves on the road. That's really what it is. And so when we say underserved communities, if folks reach out to us, if we can figure out a way for us to get there to serve, that's a part of it. Really, is that we're not trying to make money. I mean, I work in education. My spouse works in a field of service,
Mhm.
and so we know we're not trying to be millionaires. um
Right.
it's really trying to serve in the community. So yeah, but yeah, we'll go about anywhere, honey. If we get in our little Kia and drive, we're there.
Okay. Well, I will definitely keep that in mind for the
Yes,
future with my organizations and our events that we plan up here in upstate New York.
yes,
Now, that also brings me to one of the questions that I think I sent you in the email. It was like one of the latter questions that I sent, but it was about you and your spouse, because I know you guys have a YouTube channel also where you talk about spirituality and relationships and all kinds of stuff.
yes.
Um,
So yeah.
I yeah, so I wanted to know, how do you both keep yourselves so grounded and unified to be out there like that together all the time?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, so we are starting the YouTube channel right now. We do a podcast and we put out as a vlog, but we are starting the YouTube channel so we can collect them all in one place. But you
Oh,
definitely can find us on Facebook.
oh,
Love Lives in Us, which is a business venture. But because relationships and family, individuals, communities. So really our motto is individuals matter, relationships matter, communities matter. Because when we can start with ourselves, it becomes a part of our relationship and it impacts our community. And so, because really what we see, not just in the LGBTQIA community, but just across the board, is that people sort of treat relationships like temporary ventures.
mm,
And what we really want people to realize is, let's not make it a temporary thing. Let's see how we can work so we can hang in this thing together. Because, like so many things, the longer we're in it, the more we really are able to grow spiritually, emotionally, then the better we are, the better outcome we have, right?
yeah.
And so that started for us a few years ago, and our the other partner who's a part of it, Tamari, shout out to Tamari. She is single and so has had trouble dating and will say things like there's pee in the dating pool. And so you know but because of that, so our desire has been to help people prepare to be in a relationship and then also to help folks who are together. But what really keeps us going is we are passionate. I think ultimately what happens is the things that we want as individuals, we don't realize, acknowledge, or recognize how we can bring those things together. So
Right.
we had hopes and dreams as individuals, and really and truly, part of what helped us understand and know the significance of what we were trying to create together was that our dreams and aspirations as individuals really mesh together. And so it creates this place of where, though it's work and we put in a lot of work, it really feels like it's just a good time. So, we spend a lot of time talking and laughing. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We don't avoid hard topics. So those kind of things, like we really do. I mean, we don't have to spend every waking moment together because we surely do not believe in that.
Right.
Um, so it is sort of like this we intersect and then we go and do our own things and then we come back together. And so the opportunity to be not just a unit, but also to be individuals is really crucial. And it keeps us going. It keeps us from, burning down the joint.
Right. Tearing up furniture. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, has there ever been struggles, if any, that you've had facing between your personal life and your religious belief, or coming into your ministry and that sort of thing?
So, surprisingly, no.
Okay.
Um, Although prior to being in ministry, there was a time where I I was just always on a journey of exploration. So I'm always fascinated by people's spiritual journey, whatever that may be, whether it was Christian, Jewish, Muslim, whatever it is. And so I have always just had a curious mind. So I've always been sort of the oddball anyway.
Hmm.
And so when I came out, it just seemed like, okay, that explains some
Yeah,
stuff. And
it
so
makes sense now. Yeah.
and so for me, it was not people talk a lot about church hurt. And one of the things about both myself and my spouse that I really do appreciate is we give people the space and the grace to be human. And
Hmm.
so, even for those people who um, don't agree, um, have things to say, guess what? Me and the Lord just gonna keep on walking down the road. You clearly are not the house for me to stop at.
Right.
Um, and so, there were times, before I came out, again, not really as I was going into ministry, but being a younger person, where I cried because I didn't understand um, how I could be this person, right? Because I had been taught that that just won't it. And I was like, but God, I know you call me to something greater, so I don't really understand how the two exist. But then God reminded me, I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Amen.
And so at the end of the day, those things really had no trouble existing in me. There are those that it may not be able to coexist for them. But even in those situations, because I do feel um, a responsibility and an accountability. So even when I am in arenas that people feel like, oh, they're not going to accept you, they're not, they're going to have something to say, even in those arenas, oh, baby, people back off of the way they might behave with somebody else because the word says, touch not my anointed, do my
And do
prophet
my
no harm.
prophets no harm. Yes.
So oftentimes when I encounter a space that would seem unsafe, um, or not welcoming, all of a sudden you see that God has touched the heart of Pharaoh and people behave differently. And when they walk away, they say things like, well, I still don't agree, but it's something different about you. Or I learned something that I didn't know before. And so, because of that opportunity to give people space and grace, I really do think that God allows me to enter places that somebody else might not need to be there, and not because of how great I am, but just
Mhm.
because I trust him, that he will always make room for me wherever I go. So, as far as that, honestly, no. Ministry has been one of those things. I was avoiding it for all kind of other reasons.
Right. For the responsibility it comes with.
Okay, I was like,
Yes.
nah, I'm good. I'll pass on that.
Right. Okay. Now, what motivates you every day?
Oh wow. Really and truly my faith.
Yeah.
Um, my faith and my family.
Mhm.
Those two F's keep me going. One of the things that happened when Winston and I got together is, he was kind of like, dude, you are a hustler. Like I'm always thinking, I'm always planning out what's next, what we doing, what are we doing, what we gonna do to create something and do those kind of things. And Winston was like, I've never met anyone who matched that energy. And I'm like, me either. So we hustle together.
Right.
And but it's always a thought of what can I do for the betterment of my family, and then what can I do to increase my faith. And so
Mhm.
that's really what keeps me motivated, honey, because just little old me, I'm gonna go somewhere and take a nap.
Right. Yeah, I hear that. Naps are wonderful and they are necessary.
Hello.
Now, do you think that religion and spirituality is lacking in the LGBTQ plus IA community? And do you think that's because of that church hurt that you spoke of earlier?
Absolutely. I think so often we get confused as far as our relationship with people and our relationship with God. And
Mhm.
so I think once those things happen, it becomes very difficult because, if I think about someone that I really admire, people say that you should never meet your heroes, right? And
Mm.
so that's because we admire them, we look up to them, we think highly of them, and then we meet them and we're disappointed in some way by their humanity, right?
Right,
Maybe they struggle with addiction or they have issues with mental illness. And so now we're disappointed because we had put them in a pedestal. And really, what happens is oftentimes we grow up in families, unfortunately, who pervert that relationship with church leaders, where rather than recognizing that they are human and in their frailty they make errors, we hold everything that they say as if it were perfect, not realizing that at times their own humanity gets in the way. And so, because of that, then things are said, things are done, and now we have this broken relationship. But oh boy, if we can ever get into a place where we can open ourselves up and allow God to do a work in us. And it is not to say that there is no error or no frustration in the life that we live, but God gives perfect peace,
that's
and it surpasses all understanding for us. It really is. And so to be able to come back to that relationship, like a little child, to be honest. Children forgive easily. They find ways around things to see what works for them. And, it's not just some naive behavior, but it really is a simplistic one. And
right,
so I think that we really take that brokenness and we're now angry with God, which I surely had a time where I was angry with God. Um, and if we can realize that it is not God, it's human beings, and we
right,
make mistakes. We make huge mistakes. As a parent, I have apologized to my children. That guess what? I made mistakes along the way. I'm sorry. I really was doing and giving the best that I could at the time, but I made mistakes. And
right,
so we could realize that, leadership in churches, they are flawed people. But man, that true relationship with him, we're gonna skirt around now. I believe in respecting people for the positions they have, but ultimately it's about my relationship with him. So
right.
yeah.
And now you speak that you've been in education. How long have you been in education?
Oh my goodness gracious, I think I am going into my 16th year in
Wow.
education. Yes,
Are you a
yes.
teacher?
So I no longer am in a classroom. I hold a different position for the district, but it's all about the betterment of children. But I get the opportunity to work with students who need additional assistance to access education on a level playing field. And so that's what I do now. And so whereas I was responsible for the kids who walked in my door, now I'm responsible for all the kids who get up in the morning and need some additional support.
Right, right. Oh, okay.
Yes,
That's
yes,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Now, we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary with Blackout magazine, which is super exciting.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit how you got started with Blackout, and how do you feel about this 3-year milestone?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, first of all, I just want to say that Tamerly, our editor in chief, our founder, boss lady, as my spouse likes to call her, um, wow, wow, wow. So, um, I mean, the fact that she took what could have been a place that kept her feeling dark and made room for other people is such an amazing thing. So man, oh man, the 3-year journey, wow, and kudos to her, because I am sure there are days where she felt like she was on it on her own. So that in and of itself. But what actually happened is my spouse saw like a post about that Blackout was asking for community organizations to send in some information and they were going to shout them out. And so Winston is the co founder of a non collegiate Greek organization. And so he was like, dude, I'm about to jump on that. And so
Hmm.
he did. Shout out to the Lambda New Dynasty family. So so he did that, and then not too long after that, he saw a post where Tam was asking for contributors to the magazine, and he said, "Hey, I think I'm going to write for the magazine." And so a little, maybe a week went by or something, and I said, "Well, what if I wrote for the magazine too?" And he was like, sure, yes, because he's super supportive, right? I said, I'm not
Right.
trying to encroach on your thing because you're just getting started with it. And now here I'm like, can I tag along? And he was like, dude, yes, boom, do it. And and so he reached out to her and was like, hey, my wife is interested as well. And she was like, awesome, come on, let's do it. And yeah, the rest is history. We wrote the first articles, I believe it was July of last year. We just had like our 1 year anniversary, or it may have been May, I don't know. My spouse is much better at keeping up with like stuff like that. I'm terrible at that kind of thing, but anywho, we had our 1 year anniversary. And so we did our individual articles the first month, and then the very next month we started co-writing. And so we co-author a column as well. And yeah, it has been a blast. Yeah, and I
Now,
really, yeah.
hold on a minute. Your glasses are giving off a glare. Do you have to have them on?
Well, then I look like this, but
Okay. Well, I mean, you've had them on this whole time, but I'm like, are you okay to take them off? But we're
yeah, I
almost done
hate to.
now.
I
So,
just hate to give. I hate to the face that I make without them, but we're gonna try
oh,
again.
okay. No, keep them on. We've gone this far with them, so don't even worry about it.
Okay, okay.
Don't even worry
Um,
about it.
but yeah, so that's how we got started, and we've been doing it ever since. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we're coming to a close now. I guess I would like to ask, what is your day like? What is a normal day for you consist of?
That's funny. I just so we just started this like wellness, wholeness, healing journey. And so we just started working with a nursing coach. And we had our first meeting and we were discussing that. And she was like, yeah. I was telling her that I wanted to work on some things to like reduce the amount of pain in my body. And she was like, no, we need to work on reducing the amount of things you have going on. And she was like, we're not going to get to the stuff because you have no time. And I was like, dude, yeah. Wow. What does a typical day look like? So my spouse, works in corrections, and when he has to work, he's usually up about 3 or 4 in the morning. So I usually will wake up with him for a few minutes to make sure he has everything he needs to get out the door. Lunch is ready and his uniform is ready and all those kind of things. And then I'm up by 6-ish. Oh, go off to work, honey, where I spend the day running. Those people getting their money worth. So yeah, and then just, there's always this sort of like, what do I have to do? So I carry around a planner. I have my Google Calendar constantly going to remind me of the next thing. Because by the time I get in the door, you got to do all the family stuff, right? You want to talk, because we have one daughter who still lives at home. She'll be 21 this year. So you got to talk to the kid, and you got to mess with the dogs and make sure make sure everybody gets dinner, and that kind of thing. But then there's always, what are we doing for the podcast? What are we doing to promote the business? And is it time for us to start writing our articles? And then obviously, because I'm preaching, and we're starting our new ministry, getting that off the ground. And so the rest of that time is just spent doing that. And honey, I'm usually probably falling in the bed about midnight or so. And although if Winston were to hear me, he'd say it's later than that. But I usually try to get in the bed. That's why I believe in naps. That's why I believe in
Absolutely. Now tell us where we can find these businesses and your podcasts and your ministry. Just lay it all out here for our viewers.
Oh my goodness gracious. So I'm going to tell you, I'm the terrible one, right? I'm terrible as the administrator for anything social media for us, but Love Lives in Us, which is our business, where, we do relationship coaching, we'll do seminars and speak as well. You can find us on Facebook as well as TikTok. You can find the podcast tied to Love Lives in Us. You can find us on any space where you can listen to podcasts. So Apple Music and Spotify, those kind of things. And then we also, the ministry, Whosoever Ministries, we've just revamped and we're starting with Facebook. You can find me there. And in September, I will start doing weekly prayer sessions, and we'll see maybe a little bit of the word on Mondays, and that'll start again in September. And then on an individual basis, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm terrible at those though, so don't, I'll be usually what happens is Winston does something amazing that relates to whatever we're doing, and then I just share it.
Right.
I'm awful. He is older than me, but sometimes I come off like the old lady because I'm like, what's happening? But I'm there. If you put in the effort, you can find me. So
awesome.
Of course, every month in Blaque magazine, woo woo. And I have recently yes, YouTube interviews for Blackout as well. So that's been exciting.
All right, awesome, Roni. It's been a pleasure sitting here talking to you, and I thank you for your patience with me because it's taken us so long to get here, and I'm so glad it happened. It was definitely a blessing meeting you, and I hope to meet you again very soon.
All right, take care, darling. Thank you.
Thank you.